let's go on to the Sith, mysterious Sith being who we get revealed at the end of episode 1. But there's a few theories as to who this is. I also don't get the hate on Cole. He doesn't have like a clean English accent. It's Star Wars.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, what? Like, this is a place where there's aliens and different races.
I'm going to try and stay as calm as possible for this first bit of news, but I am
okay.
I am vibrating with excitement that I am an absolute fiend, an absolute slut for long one takes. He's like, we've been building up to Homelander versus Butcher. We have to deliver on it at some point, but we still got a few more seasons. But I know how I'm going to finish the story. Some people are suggesting it'd be really cool to have Butcher kill off Homelander in this season, and then have Butcher descend a little bit and become a bit of the villain instead. Hello, and welcome to episode 117 of Cutscene Convos. We have got an absolutely gangbusters episode. Word we're bringing back, gangbusters episode to kick off Pride Month, which is exciting.
Yes.
We've got a character profile on Mystique. We've got episodes 1 and 2 of The Acolyte.
Ooh.
We will finally be recapping The Bear season 1 and 2 to prepare ourselves for season 3 coming at the end of the month.
Yes.
And we've got our season 4 preview of The Boys, which of course starts next Thursday, before we wrap everything up with the Nerd News Network. But before all that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
My week's been all right. I'm trying to think what has actually gone on this week. And I'm saying this, and my brain's suddenly getting distracted by the fact that it started raining really heavily out of nowhere.
We're up north.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, last weekend was chill. Went to the girlfriend's, spent some time there. Helped my mate with his garden because it was good weather.
Yeah.
Then this week kind of been a bit of a chill week again. Helping the parents with different jobs and stuff. Around the house and whatnot.
Yeah. And whatnot.
Yeah. It's just it's been one of them weeks where I don't really feel like I've done anything. But yeah, I've played games. Can't really complain.
We do be gaming.
We have been gaming. We've been playing a lot of X Defiant.
We have.
But yeah, that's kind of been my week. Very not much gone on. Very chill. How's the week of the worker been?
It's been a week.
Oh.
Yeah. The joys of project work is sometimes you have a week where you just want to scream at the top of your lungs. It happens. Everyone who's ever worked on projects for more than a project has just heard me say that and gone, yeah. And if you haven't, you will. Don't worry. But it is what it is. For every bad week, there's a good week. So just got to get through tomorrow and then pray for better days ahead. Other than that, my week's been pretty good. Like I said, we've been playing so much X Defiant. I saw my game time as we closed out the game yesterday. I'm at like 35 hours now.
That's some impressive numbers.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying it a lot. It's a really solid game. There's lots to be impressed by. The issues that are plaguing the game are not easy fixes, but they are easily fixable.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Which is good. Which is just hoping they can keep rolling out content and stuff that keeps the game fresh and exciting for now, I guess. As always, with FPS games, lots of angry, salty people under my shorts, just for whatever reason. It's so funny every time.
You've got bot lobbies. You're not that good.
There's this one guy who's commented under a couple of my TikToks, and she's like, "Why are you still here? If my content offends you that much,
I always
just block it and
enjoy when people are like that. It's like they'll go on several posts or like come back week after week and like write a negative comment. And you just think, Well, you're clearly subscribed.
Yeah. You keep finding your way back here, Brev. Like, it's TikTok. The
Yeah.
first time you comment, you're gonna get more. Why? Scroll past that shit as quickly as possible and you'll never see me again.
Yep.
Yeah, other than that week's been fine. It's starting to feel very normal living in the flat and being away from home,
Yeah, true. It's been a little bit.
which is like scary but also very cool and exciting at the same time. So yeah, that's where we're at. Nothing too crazy going on in this part of the world, but we're getting there. Let's get into it with our character profiles. Well, character profile. There's only one.
I was gonna say there's only one.
Well, I mean, is there? She's a shapeshifter. She is Mystique. So to kick off Pride Month, we're going to do LGBT characters this month to make sure we're shining a light when it matters. And we're starting that off with Mystique, who I consider a gay icon. Mystique is an incredibly mysterious character, having first appeared in Miss Marvel number 18 in March 1978. Often going by the name Raven Darkholme, although this isn't her real name and we don't know what her real name is. Almost nothing is known about Mystique's early life, except for the fact that her powers manifested at age 12 and that she had to fight to survive. Famously, Mystique can shapeshift, but she also ages incredibly slowly, meaning we don't truly know her age. However, we do know that she and her longtime partner, Destiny, were active in London in 1895, where Mystique was a consulting detective known as Sherlock Holmes. By 1921, Mystique had made it all the way to Mexico and was due to be executed due to her blue skin, making the locals think she was a witch. She was due to be executed alongside a horse thief. She managed to escape at the last second, but witnessed the horse thief get shot numerous times. However, he didn't die, and they escaped. He introduced himself as Logan. Mystique introduced Logan to the rest of her crew up in Kansas, and they decided, after convincing Logan to join them, that they would rob a bank together. However, she went on to betray not only Logan but the rest of her team, throwing them all under the bus. This allowed her the chance and opportunity to escape with the money while the police rounded up her comrades. Eventually, Mystique would go on to have children. Firstly, with Victor Creed, or Sabretooth. This child was Grandin Creed, a normal human, born to two mutants, who grew up hating mutants as a result of this, and formed the Friends of Humanity, a far-right anti-mutant group. Eventually, after having another child, Nightcrawler, Mystique formed the third version of the Brotherhood of Mutants. It was during this time she met Anna Marie, a young, powerful mutant who she nicknamed Rogue. Rogue would go on to be her adopted daughter. After Rogue eventually left to join the X-Men, and with anti-mutant rhetoric on the rise, Mystique decided to move away from criminal activities and instead turned to the Brotherhood of Mutants and decided to turn them into a government contractor to deal with the government's mutant activities. Mystique is at this point a force of nature and will move as she sees fit, having spent time both secretly and openly on numerous teams, including the Freedom Force, X Factor, the Marauders, and even the X-Men. Mystique has dated numerous people, including Wolverine, Irene Adler, who was Destiny, who was a precognitive mutant. She could tell the future. She's dated Sabretooth, as she had a child with him. She had a brief relationship with Azazel, who is the red demon who kind of looks like Nightcrawler. She also had a relationship with Dakan, who is Wolverine's son. Mystique has flirted about a bit. Having lived as long as she has, you're bound to have a couple of relationships in that time. quite ironically, a lot of people think of Mystique as like Magneto's right-hand person,
Yeah.
but that's not really the case in comics. For the most part, she's pretty separate. Yeah, in reality, it's kind of Magneto is very much the political fighting for mutant rights, even if it is via means that would be described traditionally as terrorism. Whereas she's a little bit more, I will fuck up someone who hates mutants if I get the opportunity, but is there a way to make money here? Because she understands money's what makes the world goes round, and what's the point of being scared and on the run if I can't be scared and on the run in a Porsche? which I think is kind of based.
Yeah.
And as I guess from your reaction, and I think it's pretty common, a lot of people don't realize like Mystique is genuinely quite a mysterious character. We don't know a lot about them before like the popular era of mutants becoming well known. Very old, ages incredibly slowly. Even if we did know her true age, obviously because of her shapeshifting ability, she could always make herself appear younger anyway. Very, very intelligent, very proficient in lots of weaponry and martial arts. Just an absolute icon, to be honest.
Yeah, pretty badass.
For sure. Right. We are back in Showtime season.
We are. And it's starting with Star Wars.
You know what? We are going to get into how much we love this show, and I know we both do. What we're going to deal with first is the idiots of the internet so that we can talk about it. It's up at the front here. Them kind of idiots know to leave and never come back to this channel. And then the people who really love the show are left here to enjoy it with us.
Yep.
So, the only complaints I have seen anywhere are people who are unhappy that women and people of color exist in Star Wars. Boo friggin' who.
Yeah.
And I believe it was the Rolling Stone article, which was released before the embargo. So they broke embargo with this article as well, in which they claimed that, I forget how to pronounce his name, your man who plays the main character.
Soul.
Yeah, the actor who plays Soul and was in Squid Game, very, very famous gentleman. Lee Young-jae.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I've butchered that. They were giving him shit because they didn't think his English was good enough. That man learned how to speak English for this role in 4 months.
Which is just impressive.
Forgetting that it's impressive to learn another language in 4 months. Let's be completely clear here. The way language works is you've got base languages. So, like, for us, learning German is actually, in the grand scheme of languages, one of the easiest to learn because our root words are quite similar.
Yeah.
So if a German talks slowly enough to you, you're going to be able to pick up a bit of what they're saying and get the general idea, along with lots of gesturing and stuff.
Yeah.
South Korea and languages like that, completely different in every way, which means he's not just had to learn, like the different words and like the way they're put together is pretty similar. He's had to learn a completely different style of how language goes together, full stop.
Yep.
That is incredibly impressive. He sounds like someone who, English is their second language, but he sounds like someone who's been speaking English as their second language for a few years.
Yeah, and like, I also don't get the hate on, like, cool, he doesn't have like a clean English accent. It's Star Wars.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, what? Like, this is a place where there's aliens and different races. Of course, there's going to be like different accents. Maybe you could play it off as like, he's from a planet that didn't speak English and he had to learn it from Jedi.
Similar to D&D, I believe what we know as English in Star Wars universe is known as like Universal Basic or anything.
Yes, like
he could have come from a country where a planet where that's not really that common. He's had to learn it. Forgetting that, he's completely easy to understand. His pronunciation is fucking phenomenal for a second language learned on short notice, and he gets the emotion through with his delivery with no issues.
Yeah,
that Rolling Stone article was written in such bad faith. I can't even believe it.
It
really upset me.
I don't know how that got approved.
Neither do I. And then the other one, which is a problem caused by people not actually knowing what they're talking about. You have people complaining about the fire on the outside of the ship in the first episode. It's like, you can't have fire in space. Go watch the original trilogy again and then come back and make that complaint.
Yeah, it's Star Wars. Who cares?
Star Wars have always been so loose with the laws of physics.
Yeah.
Get over yourself. You are just nitpicking to try and claim that Disney Star Wars is worse when literally we have seen fire on the outside of spaceships in the original trilogy. Get fucked, you massive bellends.
I will say there is one complaint that I think is valid.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you managed to find a decent one.
Can media stop this obsession with the Killmonger haircut?
Yes, no, that is an absolutely fair.
I've seen it, and it's like slowly it's becoming more and more of an issue.
Yeah, there is a big problem with when there's too many white people making a project. They don't have style black hair properly, and as a result, they've learnt like 2 haircuts, and they just have the same 2 haircuts, and that's it. And it's a problem that needs to be addressed. But that isn't an Acolyte exclusive problem.
No,
that's a problem
it's not.
with media in general.
But I've seen it really shine its head because of the show.
Yeah, it's not ideal. However, now let's talk about all the good stuff this show does. Like,
it's so good.
That first fight scene.
Oh, but yeah, the what's the? They've come up with a name for that fighting style, and I've already forgotten what it is.
Is it not just Matrix?
No, so it's like a mix of like kung fu with something.
Like how John Wick has gung fu.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's like force fu or something.
It looks so clean, and I don't know if it's just my brain being a massive nerd. Cool, whatever. But seeing the actress who played Trinity show off that fighting style, which is so obviously inspired by that kind of Matrix-esque style. Obviously, there is more impacts, and obviously the stuff that inspired the Matrix has I'm not saying it is directly from the Matrix, but that's where I recognize that kind of
I know what you mean.
choreography from. It just was like a them nodding to it, going, "We're going to do it properly."
Well, yeah, it was such a nice change of pace. There's so many things in the show that is just a nice change of pace for Star Wars, this being one of them, because we're so used to like immediate Jedi going to pulls out lightsaber, has fight that way, bit of force throwing, bit of whatnot, force pushes, but to actually have one where it was like hand-to-hand combat, very defensive combat. Like, this is a time where there is no war. It's the golden age for the Jedi. They have no need to immediately go to like aggressive fight. It's like, okay, well, defend and
pacify my enemy.
Yeah, and figure out what's going on here. So seeing like kung fu used in that way with a mix of force and force holds to stop things, to then like playing into the Matrix stuff of the up the stairs move, the wire work, which was like very clearly Matrix-esque. There's also, I think, in Kill Bill, there's like a similar thing where she runs up the stairs. So it's clearly inspired by that stuff. But to, like you say, to have that and it be the actress from Matrix, it's just was such a nice correlation.
Do you know what it really, really was giving?
Go on.
It seems like, so you know how Family Guy is just Seth MacFarlane making jokes about stuff he watched growing up, which is why it's also 80s coded.
Yeah.
This is like someone getting the opportunity to direct Star Wars, and they also loved Kill Bill and The Matrix and stuff like that. And as a result, that's like the basis of what they love, which is absolutely fine. This is no way slander. I'm saying it's actually quite a good thing. It gives so much personality to it. They're like, I love Star Wars, and growing up, all I wanted once I saw The Matrix and Kill Bill was to see that kind of fighting in Star Wars. And now I'm going to be the one who does it. And it worked so well.
Yeah, and it's bringing these different ways to choreograph fights in, which is like a breath of fresh air to Star Wars.
Absolutely. It was so cool. How quickly did you realize they were twins?
Not quick enough, by the sounds of it, from what some people realized on the internet. I picked up on where would I say that I realized it was twins? I think it was around the point when she was starting to be arrested, and I was like, this doesn't feel right.
I was the exact same.
Probably on the ship when she was struggling to use the Force, I was like, this is no way the same person.
Oh no, not once she was already in prison. It was when when the door opened and she saw Yord, and she was genuinely happy. I was like, nah, different person. This is something ain't right here. I didn't instantly go, they must be twins.
Yeah.
But I was like, at that point, I was like, don't smell right. Something's off here.
Well, yeah, at first I was like, yeah, I'll say some of it felt weird then, but I was like, is she just acting, like, is her character acting really well, or is it like some weird split personality thing?
That was one of the things I was considering. I was like, is it like literally the light and the dark side are fighting within her? Because we also got like that really harsh wake up cut.
Yes, it was very well done.
Which definitely led to the idea of, is this two sides inside a body competing?
And the
we
fact
should
that,
have
like,
guessed twins when it's just, Star Wars.
Well, yeah, and watching stuff back and seeing clips on the internet and stuff, their hairstyles are actually very different in length and stuff. So there's like, if you're paying enough attention, as soon as you see her, you go, well, that's a different haircut to the first one. So you should pick up on it.
I think as men we get a pass on not noticing different haircuts.
But I think the real point was when she couldn't use the Force. I was like, this is like not the same person.
Even if you think she's like doing a really good job of trying to hide it, when she's on a ship that's going down and she can't use the Force to save herself, you're like, well, that has to be a different person.
Yeah.
I think the bigger twist to me was that May also thought she was dead.
Yeah, though, that makes sense. I kind of like wasn't too surprised by that, because if she thought her sister was dead and she got taken away by the Jedi and whatnot, and this is all presumption at the moment because we're still trying to work out what actually went down, but let's presume her twin was left for dead because Sol said he watched her die. So it's like, they clearly knew she was, or what they thought she was done for. If she's not realized her sister's gone with the Jedi, she's going to presume she's dead in whatever she escaped from, if it was almost her own death. So I wasn't too surprised by that.
This is once again one of them things where I'm like, anyone who claims this isn't good Star Wars writing is losing their mind, because this story arc is so George Lucas coded. You could make me believe George Lucas was in the writer's room.
Well,
we've got two twins who didn't know the other one existed. One's been raised by the light, one's been raised by the dark. So now they're both equally like as interesting, but on the complete different sides of the spectrum. Like, come on, the Jedi are being complacent and dangerous. You've got a mysterious bad guy.
Oh,
George Lucas was in the writer room. I'm telling you, one of them names is a pen name.
It wouldn't surprise. Well, we know he has chats with Dave Filoni like on a weekly basis. So
did Dave work on this at all, though?
I imagine. Well, Dave's creative officer of Star Wars now, so he'll have overseen it. Whether he's like had much, like, he might not have been there writing and stuff, but I imagine he's had like overview of it, like giving his thoughts here and there. But something to remember is like, this is the High Republic era. This is actually a very new era of Star Wars in the terms of Star Wars content. There's like 3 books out that are set way earlier in this time period, but there's like artwork and stuff, because like a lot of the visual language with the Jedi's robes and stuff is all taken from that, which all looks stunning. Love the visual of like this white, clean, perfectly folded, like pristine look to the Jedi. But yeah, so it's a very open story, and they have a lot of this ability to have a lot of fun and creativity with it. But when I realized it was twins, there's only one other sort of story that I roughly know of twins, which is from the Star Wars Old Republic game, or Star Wars Online Old Republic, or whatever it is, where I only know there's twins in that story because of the cutscenes. They have the really crazy CGI.
Yeah.
And there's one where it's these twin brothers and they're training, and then eventually one of them kind of turns on his brother and kills him, and then the dad accepts the one that killed his brother as like, okay, now you've earned your place as right-hand man. So I think so. Like,
wild.
Yeah, they're raised as like not Sith, but they're clearly not Jedi in whatever the cutscene is. I should probably look into the story of that game, but they're clearly raised as both force-wielding twins, and one proves he's stronger than the other by accidentally. Well, in a like reactionary manner, reacts and then realizes he's just killed his brother, his twin. So it's like seeing Force twins got me very excited because I'm like, ooh. And the fact that, like you say, light and dark, we're gonna get some like clash here of both sides.
Here's the thing, and like this isn't a me thing. This is something someone said, and I've read up on. People are pretty confident that the twins are a Force dyad.
Okay.
So, like how in the sequels, Kylo and Rey kept on having like visions of one another, and they were so intricately linked. We're getting these visions between the girls, and also the speech that they finish, which is like the one of you, one of me, together we are the same, or whatever it is. I forget the speech. Is like the way it's written is very much got like Force dyad under. So a lot of people are like, are they a Force dyad, and that's going to end up being like really important? And is that why that Sith Lord or whoever it is has taken so much interest in Maya? Because they're like, if I can get you under my thumb, I can get both of you, and having a Force dyad under me is like incredibly powerful.
Well, I mean, let's go on to the Sith. Mysterious Sith being who we get revealed at the end of episode 1, and that little like speech monologue little like bit he's doing where we get the on the rocks whatever, because it's through a mask and it sounded slightly distorted, and it's the way, I don't know, just the style of language gave me kind of Ultron vibes when he's having that conversation with Vision at the end, and they're having that like philosophical sort of discussion. But there's a few theories as to who this is, because at this period of time, although the Sith were unknown to be about, to the Jedi at least, there's still the rule of 2 in Force at this point. Like this is the rule of 2 had been around for a while at this point.
I'm very much in the shadows, not making any noise. They're plotting and planning.
So, because this period is like right after the Jedi defeated a big Sith thing, they're presumed all gone. There is no fear of the dark side or anything anymore. So that's why they've become complacent to it. So we know from Palpatine in the prequels, he tells Anakin about Darth Plagueis. Tells a story about Darth Plagueis, the Wise, whatnot.
Sorry, the tragedy of Darth Plagueis.
The tragedy. Who was killed by his apprentice, which was Palpatine. And he's telling a story about his own master. Plagueis would have been about around this time, and would make sense for him to be the catalyst for the downfall of the Jedi.
Looking for some powerful twins and shit,
or there's a slight chance it could be Darth Plagueis' master, Darth Tenebros, I don't know how to say his last name, who, again, was betrayed by his apprentice, as is the way with the Sith.
Well, that's like how the Sith think they get stronger, isn't it? It's like, I'm going to be stronger than my master, who was stronger than his master. I will make it so that you get stronger than me, and you can eventually kill me, and as a result, the Sith will become this ultimate power, because we're like always getting stronger than the previous generation.
Now, I think it leans more to Plagueis, because the way this is they're probably trying to condense storylines a little bit, so it would make more sense for this to be Plagueis, and it would make sense that he's trying to recruit a powerful Force user to be his apprentice so that he can then overrule his master and then has a new rule of 2. If it is Plagueis, that means, twins in danger, because they clearly don't become his apprentice. We know that becomes Palpatine.
Yeah.
There's also a small chance this could be a new character. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone we know.
As we always know, the Sith believe in the rule of two, but the Sith are also sneaky and conniving, so it doesn't mean that there is just one pairing.
Yeah, like, there was the rule of two, but, I mean, we know Darth Maul was still rocking about secretly with half a body. He was still a Sith. He just wasn't an apprentice or anything anymore.
Exactly.
But to the chance that it could be someone unknown, or this could also be who plays one of these characters. Sam Witwer was in the credits.
I'm convinced at this point they just put Sam Witwer in the credits of everything, just so people like me and you go,
possibly. And it could be like the age-old thing of like one of his voice lines was used as a whispery noise in the background. Like, who knows?
They locked him in the building at fucking.
He might even have an agreement that he's got to be on all the credits.
Yeah, like, put me on the credit for everything, and then just like ask me to read a script just to make sure everything is grammatically correct.
I'm still gonna hope, because obviously we don't know who. Like, if he's the one under the mask, very exciting.
That'd be very, very cool. It's also, I thought, worth mentioning, if that is Darth Plagueis.
Yes.
That might make sense as to why there's so much pressure on May to get to kill a Jedi without a weapon. Because the way Palpatine, like in the Clone Wars, they always spoke about how Palpatine doesn't like using his lightsaber because he's all about, I'll beat the Jedi without it, with mind games and stuff. So maybe that was something he learned from Plagueis. It's like, if you need your lightsaber to beat them, the Jedi will always beat you. They can practice for too long. There's too many of them. You need to be able to beat them without your lightsaber. And maybe that's his way of like testing them. Obviously, you've got the metaphorical side of you've got to be conniving, you've got to be smarter, but also it's a good way of getting rid of anyone who's too weak within the Force.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Obviously, he has that little speech about an Acolyte kills without a weapon, an Acolyte will destroy the Jedi. May's obviously taken that as, oh, I can't use a weapon, I've got to kill them hand-to-hand Force.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what he means at all when he said that speech to her. He 100% just means an Acolyte, basically them existing in the shadows and killing the Jedi. Essentially, them just existing is killing the Jedi without a weapon because they're going to make the Jedi crumble from within.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like this, but she's obviously not quite realized that yet. But I think, like you say, it could also link to why Palpatine doesn't like a weapon and stuff. So it all sort of leans that way.
Did you watch The Good Place?
No.
Cool. So Good Place fans will, like me, have been kicking their feet and squiddling like a little girl when we saw Jason from The Good Place, who played May's like dude that was helping her out.
Oh,
he played Jason in The Good Place, who was like the village idiot but very lovable. Seeing him do a bit of like proper non-comedic acting was lit. That was I recognised him instantly, but then he wasn't talking like a dumbass. So I was like, "Wait, is it?"
I mean, I really enjoyed his character.
He was really, really cool. Also, a lot of people, when he like dodged May's attack, a lot of people were like, what's the rest of his story? There's more going on there if he's ready for that.
Well, he also talks about like the master, so he obviously has interacted with this guy, so he's obviously something extra there.
And is it also worth considering, while we're still kind of tangentially talking about the rule of two, he's not called her his apprentice? Is that potentially a Sith way of trying to find an apprentice and just going, "Oh, I'll just have a bunch of acolytes"?
Well, yeah.
So maybe Sidious is another one of his acolytes out there somewhere, and he's just at the minute he's testing all of his acolytes to see who could be his apprentice.
Yeah, Palpatine probably wouldn't be. Oh, he might. I don't think he'd be quite. But no, because this is 100 years before the start, and he was like 80-ish, I think. 78.
He was 88 when he died.
So
And that was 4 ABY.
yes,
So
I
he would
don't
have
think he'd be
been...
quite born
Yeah, he's
yet.
probably not quite there yet. Okay.
But still, like, I know what you mean. Like, she's not an apprentice yet. It's almost like he's trying to find someone who can prove themselves strong enough to then become the apprentice.
It would also be a very Sith thing.
Oh yeah.
To train up the twin. To be the counterpoint to the Jedi twin. To try and break the Jedi twin who they think is more powerful. To seduce the Jedi. Like, he doesn't want May. He just wants May to break her sister so that he can take the sister under his wing.
I think it's more open than that. He knows they're powerful. One of them, either of them will be strong. He just needs to break one of them, and either he's going to make May strong enough and get her to a point where Osha tries to stop her and she kills her twin. He basically needs them to kill the other one because that will be the breaking point that turns them to the dark side. So it's like, to him, it's whichever one does it, he knows then he can twist them.
I did see one very funny meme, and it was like, you've got Sol, Yord, and I forget Sol's new Padawan's name. And they're like,
Jackie.
Jackie, yeah. So you've got Sol, who's the old, tired, wiseful master. You've got Yord, who's the young, energetic, eager to prove himself Jedi Knight. And you've got Teki, who's the, like, sassy Padawan. It's like, welcome back, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka.
Yeah. I will say,
and this is why it's so
though.
Star Wars. Yord is... I saw someone and they described it really well. It was, Yord is annoying, but in a really kind of way. Like, you don't want to hate him, but you are like, okay, just simmer down a little bit. You give him more chances.
He's the suck up, and it annoys me. Yeah. Because it's like, who are you trying to suck up to right now? Stop it.
But does it not also show, like, the problem of the Jedi Order starting to build? It's like, so why do Jedis care so much? Like, they shouldn't care so much about what others think of them. The whole point of the Jedi is they're supposed to be separate from that.
But this is like, so this is golden era for the Jedi. They are essentially the church because they have Jedi stationed in different places. Like, notice at the beginning when May, she's like, where's your Jedi? So there's Jedi stationed in planets. That is where they reside to spread the message of the... So, like, to be a Jedi Knight is seen as this noble... And he's like, fully, like...
Oh, he's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, fully drinking the Kool-Aid. I love Jackie, like you say, being like that sort of playful, kind of pokes fun at people, still like innocent. Because this is the first time in a long time we are getting a Padawan that is not being trained during time of war.
Yeah.
So like, not so scarred by war and has just this freedom to look at everything with a bit more of an open eye, question things a bit more.
And I guess her training is also a little bit more teaching focused and less please don't die in a war focused.
Yeah, it's less, right, let's learn how to fight droids. It's, let's solve this little mystery and find out what's going on.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how that gets played into, and I'm actually really excited for that because, like you say, we've never really got someone who's learning the ways of the Force not in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see how that goes.
Something we've, as me, you, and Luke have talked about as this episode was coming out, was Yoda, because the end of episode 2 is like, which also made me laugh, is like they've figured out what's going on, and so I was like, we need to go to we know who's going to be targeted. Why are we not just going to tell them? And it's like, no, we must have a meeting about this. This is the Jedi way. We must gather the council. To which people are like, oh, so Yoda, he'll be kicking about. But the showrunner said he's not in. We won't be seeing Yoda. That could either be a red herring to make us be excited to see Yoda, or they genuinely don't want to put Yoda in. To which then it's like, well, we were trying to work out, would he be Grandmaster yet?
So I've just done a little bit of Googling, and it looks like the Acolyte said 100 years before Phantom Menace, which was 32 BBY.
Yep, so it's around
which means 132 BBY. It looks like, best guesstimate, Yoda was the Grandmaster by 82 BBY, which is about 50 years in the future.
Yeah, so
it could have been a little bit earlier than that, because obviously we don't have a full timeline. But it's well within reason that he's not quite there yet.
The weird thing is, it's like, yeah, so because I looked into it as well, and it's like the first time you hear him talk about being Grandmaster is 82, and I think the line is something like he won this title in a raffle, is how he words it. Which is obviously like something obviously happened, and essentially he was voted to be Grandmaster whether he wanted to be or not. But then there's like, I think the only other time I mention we hear from him is like 200 BBY, which he says he's in a senior position, but he doesn't say Grandmaster. So it's like it happens.
So he's on the council by then.
Yeah, so he would be like one of the top Master Jedi, but Grandmaster is just generally was either the oldest person on the council or the most powerful. Sometimes it could be the most powerful, but then the oldest kind of dethrones them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, if Yoda, like whoever it is now, maybe Yoda gets old enough to the point where it goes, hang on, no, Yoda should be Grandmaster now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Another counter I said to that, which also made sense, was we're getting kind of, again, I've robbed this from Twitter, but it made me laugh. We know what you did last summer vibes from the Jedi. Like, they clearly did something they're not proud of.
Well, yeah.
So my point was almost, maybe they're keeping it very quiet so the Jedi Council don't know too much, and maybe that's why Yoda would show no interest, because we know the era of complacency is going to start creeping in, and maybe they're just trying to keep it all stum because they know they've messed up.
We'll see when we see this council meeting, like if it's a big council meeting and it'll kind of be like, where's Yoda? Or even if I'm happy if he's just name dropped. It's like, oh, Yoda's busy doing something because he's not Grandmaster. Yeah. He's on an assignment somewhere. Who knows? But yeah, they're clearly the Jedi have been up to something. We saw that with I've forgotten his name, the one that was in the meditative force field state, which was very cool.
Thorbin?
Something like that. Thorbin, maybe. Yeah. I thought that was very cool that he was just meditating there and he had like a force field. Also,
guy was locked in.
Very well shot with his robes and using the robes and the design look of them to hide the practical effect of how he was floating there.
I'm sure that was an uncomfortable seat to sit on.
Well, it's like those people that do it in the street, right?
Yeah, and they're uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, but they'll do it between, like, it's not on it for hours and hours. He's just going to make do for a few. On and off.
I'd have left there for the entire season. But lock in, you're actually meditating.
But yeah, I thought that was very cool, and that whole him kind of like understanding that, yeah, I did do something wrong. Apparently, so that what he was in was, I read a thing, I think it was on Twitter or something, that is a oath that some Jedi have taken as punishment for something they deemed they did wrong. So there's been like two other, like, in legends, whether this is canon or not, in books, of people, there's a name for it because it was named after the first person that did it, but essentially they feel regret for something they did or something, so they go into a strong meditative, like they give up all Jedi they give up all Jedi duties and go into this state as a way to reconnect with the Force and like pay for what they've done. So it's pretty cool that they've pulled that from the legend stuff and used it in a way that he did something wrong and then he took the poison to get himself out of it.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see. And we are completely right. It's definitely sitting on this mysticism, but not afraid to be political spectrum. Like you're seeing the politics of the Jedi Order, but it's got the mysticism of stuff like anyone like myself who's just watched films and TVs and never read any of the books. We're going to see the man in the meditative coma and we're going to be like, the fuck is that? What's the dog doing?
Yeah.
It's going to be very, very cool. I'm so excited for where this
it's going to be very good. And like seeing the way that they're trying to cover it up, that it's going on, it's very much going to be like this murder mystery sort of political game, while also there's the mysticism of the Sith are coming back. And we also should mention the final moment of episode 2, which was the Wookiee Jedi.
Yeah, I again, feet were kicking like a child. You
Yeah,
know how I feel about the Wookiees. They're awesome.
as soon as
Wookiee
I saw the
Jedis.
shot of the forest, I was like, we're in Wookiee Wookiee territory here. I was so excited for it. Apparently, those scavengers were talking the Hutt language.
Yeah, Huttese.
So
yeah. Wait, you don't watch with subtitles? Rookie.
I think I do. I just didn't read that it said Huttese.
Yeah, it said Huttese straight away. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah,
which means
makes sense.
We could see a Hutt maybe in this.
Yeah. But it also
series.
makes complete sense. We know the Hutts run all the crime syndicates and stuff. They're out there scavenging illegally. It makes complete sense they'd be speaking Huttese.
But yeah, the way he grabbed the gun with the Force and then snapped it like a Wookiee does, I was like, yep, this is very cool.
I'm not being funny. I'm one of them idiots who I'd see a bear in the wild and I'd be like, shit, that thing might eat me. But at the same time, I'm like, it's kind of cute. I want to give it a hug. That's how I feel about Wookiees. They're fucking terrifying, but my God, they look so fluffy. And what if it's like Chewbacca and wants to be my best friend? If I saw a Wookiee growl at me and then use the Force to fuck me up, I would stop praying to every god, old and new, for forgiveness. Because that must be the most terrifying thing possible to experience.
They're bad enough as it is without having the Force at their arsenal.
They're so the Wookiees are in class.
Fun fact about this one: it's the same guy that ended up playing Chewbacca in the suit in the sequel films.
Oh, that's cool.
Same younger guy who like obviously took over doing the practical side of things, so he's now playing this Wookiee.
Awesome. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I was going to say. I'm looking forward to the rest of the action in this show.
Yeah.
We're going to get to build some really cool fights. I like that, as we said before, because it's not a time of war, Jedis are a little bit more reserved in like maiming and killing, which means they're a little bit more reluctant to bring their lightsaber out. Yes. Which is giving us a lot of room to do more interesting fights, and also still have lightsabers incorporated.
Yeah, well, saw
it all sits nicely within the lore while giving us a more visually appealing fight, which is just kiss.
Well, yeah, and we know from the teaser trailer that they fight the Sith guy at some point as a group, and you know that fight's gonna be good. Like, just very think excited. One Sith taking on like 4 Jedi.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And Yord is gonna get exposed as a fraud.
Bro was so quick to pull his lightsaber at any point as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Also loving...
You know that... You know in like a fight scene where you've got multiple on one guy and the one guy's gonna win, you get that one idiot who runs in ahead of everyone and gets dealt with. That is going to be Yord, I promise. Write it down now. Yord is going to be the guy who charges the Sith Lord first and gets fucked up.
Why do I feel like Yord's going to absolutely... We're all hating him and then he's going to like show off some impeccable swordsmanship skills with his lightsaber and we're going to be like, yeah, fair play.
I fully expect Yord's arc to be idiot Jedi who doesn't understand what being a Jedi actually means. It's just that's what he's always been. Into like lovable guy that if anyone says anything bad about, I'm ready to fight them. That's what I expect Yord's arc to be.
I think it's going to be he's sipping the Kool-Aid and then he's going to realize, wait, the Kool-Aid's not actually what I thought it was.
Yeah, right now he's just doing what he's told, and he's going to realize that actually being a Jedi does mean thinking and questioning things and trying to understand the Force within yourself, not just reciting what you've been told.
Yeah.
I also thought it was very interesting that it shone a bit of a light on what happens to people who don't make it as Jedis. Bearing in mind, we know the Jedi Order went around essentially kidnapping children. Essentially.
Yeah.
Do all them kids get reconnected with their family? And how does that go? Like, let's be clear here. The Jedi Order teaches kids from the second they get their hands on them, ideally at like the age of like 3, no emotions, no connection, shut yourself off. What, you're going to get to like 16, fail your exams or whatever, not be allowed to continue being part of the Jedi Order. And if you're lucky and your family's still alive, you can maybe go back and find them. but you spent your entire life being basically taught to not have any emotional connection to anything.
The Jedi aren't the good people here, so...
No. This is the... But, like, in reality, what the Jedi Order in this time period are creating, it's an autism factory. Come in here, don't look anyone in the eyes, don't have any emotions, and now go back to your family.
It's also interesting that, like, Osha was able to walk away a lot easier than, like, Ahsoka was. So the time... Like, at this point, they're, like, welcoming people in and bringing, obviously, kids in, but they're also... If it's not working, and they will make a decision as well, like, they'll let them walk away from it. It's not like this sacred thing of, like, no, once you're in, you need to stay in sort of attitude.
It's very, very interesting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's cook, cousin.
Yes, chef.
The Bear, season 1 and 2.
I've been asking you for so long to watch this.
Let's be clear. I wasn't being, like, petulant like you were with the boys and like refusing to watch it.
I wasn't refusing to watch it.
But I knew I was going to enjoy it. I'd seen like bits of it. I was like, I know I'm going to enjoy it. It's not an emergency to watch it right now, and I don't have time to be able to watch it casually, so it can wait. But season 3 was coming up. Horry had begged and pleaded for us to do it on the podcast, so I was like, right, I'll get season 1 and 2 watched. It's now an emergency. We're going to kind of ramble about this in no particular order. There's a lot of shows. There's a lot of show to it. So going through it in order would take forever.
Yeah.
Now, it is very well documented on this podcast that I am an absolute fiend, an absolute slut for long one takes.
Well, there's an audio bite.
Yeah. Like, it's crazy. Like, and the thing is, it's not even just that makes me like I find it visually appealing, therefore it's good. It's very much a case of it allows actors to really act. The camera work has to be phenomenal, which is an art itself. And as a general rule, it adds a lot of movement to a scene, which when you need it for something chaotic works really well. So as a general rule, you see these kind of shots in action films. Because that's when you want chaotic, lots of movement, energy. That's why they work so well. Daredevil has done it the best in an action sequence. The most recent James Bond, which is like 2 years old now, did a really, really good one and then made me audibly in the cinema. I love the cinema. I'm very quiet in the cinema. Go, oh, for fuck's sake, because they've done a beautiful one up the stairs and then cut 3 seconds before the end of the fight.
Yeah.
Infuriating. So we've loaded up. We started watching the second to last episode of the first season.
Yes.
And I've seen that it's 20 minutes. I'm like, that's a really short episode. How weird. It does its opening and we get going and like this is how like in tune I am to this shit. About 2.5, 3 minutes in, I turn to her and I go, has this thing cut yet? And she goes, no, I don't think so. I'm like, are these crazy bastards about to do what I think they're going to do? Because when we saw it was 20 minutes, I was like, this is either going to be one of the greatest episodes of TV ever, or it's going to be really forgettable. And this is like the perfect example, and I know the directors have spoken about it, of where this kind of filming should be used.
Yes.
You've got this beautiful storytelling happening all in one take, and like the Bear throughout the entire 2 seasons is really good at not using too many quick cuts. They do when it makes sense for like prepping food, but when there's actually dialogue happening, they like long takes, and that's what makes you feel like you're in it so much. And I will die on that hill. So that episode, just living in the restaurant with them, with the tensions literally rising and bubbling to that crescendo. Give it, honestly, the Bear deserves all the awards just for that episode, forgetting how good everything else is.
So when I was in uni, I've worked loosely in a kitchen before, uncovered and stuff, and I'm not a chef. And when it's busy, a kitchen is a stressful place. And let me tell you, that episode brought back some like stress levels that I haven't felt for a while. And I was like, this is intense. Please, someone turn that machine off. My mind was so like, just turn the machine off, stop the orders. But yeah, that shot, using a one shot in that situation when there's chaos happening, just sold the intensity of that, like the pressure building in that episode, and like thing after thing going wrong. Everyone's there's chaos from all angles. So well put together.
Naturally over the episode.
Yes.
It didn't feel like the tension came out of nowhere because you literally didn't have a chance to cut the tension by cutting the scene. So they could go. It was like almost a linear graph from 0 to 100 over the course of the 20-minute episode.
Yeah.
And because it was one shot, they could have the interactions as you flow backwards and forwards, which slowly build it up, and you feel the tension yourself because they don't cut. People don't realize how much a cut not shuts off the human brain, but it's like a little mini reset, which is very important a lot of the time. But when you want to build tension slowly, it's the worst thing to do. So just doing that just gives it that tension. It locks you in. You don't look away from the screen. No one was sat there checking their phone during that episode of The Bear. No. Because you're too locked in.
So
you might have been scrolling on your phone when the episode starts. You get about a minute in, you put it down, and then you don't even, because there's no cut, your brain doesn't have an easy cue to pick your phone back up. So you watch it for 20 minutes straight and you go, wow. And your heart is racing by the end, and you're like, no, why, Kami, why are you screaming at them? Stop, why'd you throw the donut on the floor? What you doing? Why?
Wild take. But Marcus was also slightly in a wrong that episode.
Yes, no, and that's the beauty of it. Every single person was in the wrong in that episode.
Everyone fucked up in their own way, which then caused someone else to get pissed at them and fuck up. It was just the layers of intensity. But going back to like the quick cuts with the bear, so I watched a thing about, I think it was the editors discussing, this was maybe after season 1, I don't know if it was after season 2, and they were discussing the whole thing, but they were talking about like episode 1 in particular, because for you said you watched episode 1 and you were instantly hooked, and the way that they did it and explained it is they wanted to mix quick cuts, but also like needed to tell a story and hold the moment and build that intensity up again. And they found that using quick cuts for like all the prep moments obviously sells like the intensity, how quick stuff is happening.
Urgency, work hard.
Also, if you pay attention and think back, whenever it's a bit of the story focused on Kami, always quick cuts to sell how intense his life is. Like, think back to episode 1 when he's gone to get the jeans to sell them for some extra money. That's all quick cut, and it's linked with how intense he lives his life. And then it'll go to another character and it slows down. And it shows that intensity that he brings to the situation. And it's so well put together that way because they use that then throughout the show. And it's got this good balance of like the long cut, like telling the story, but also the intensity of that show and selling what a kitchen is like. So well done. Just top to bottom.
Like everything's so good. The character arcs of all the characters so well.
Season 2. So good for the character arcs.
Going from this loud mouth who doesn't give a fuck about anything to this like the episode of him at the posh restaurant.
Thoughts.
And then you just see that moment where it clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And he like turns up and he gets it, and then you like in the last episode of the season, you get that revelation where he's like, I can do this if you want me.
Yes.
He stops trying to force himself on people. And he takes a step back, and it's a thing that everyone at times needs to know when to take a step back, and he never knew when to do that because he was worried if he took a step back, he'd be left behind. So he
felt so bad when he was like feeling that way.
Yeah. And then he realized, wait, if I take a step back and just go, I will help if you need me to, people will come to me for help. Be there when people need me. And then eventually over time, I will build back this reputation and people will know they can count on me. And then I won't feel like I'm being pushed away. Him turning the thing round to mimic the posh restaurant and start rattling off them orders was phenomenal.
Well, so like you said, the whole story arc for Cousin, going from season 1, you kind of generally find him annoying. You hate him a little bit because he's just been like trying not to let things change. Like you say, always putting himself on everything, kind of being a bit of a dick. To season 2, you start to feel sorry for him because you start to realize why he's doing that. And it's because he's scared he's going to get left behind and everyone's learning all these things and he hasn't got a skill and he's worried. And you're like, oh shit, there's actually like more to him. Then he gets sent to do the Forks episode, and of course it's with Olivia Colman, who brings the best out in him.
My goat.
But like
My
seeing
goat.
him go in that episode from like, he arrives there, he's like, why the fuck am I here? What's the point in this? You want me to clean forks? To then starting to pay attention to things, to then it's like, oh, we need a pizza. And he's like, I know. He steps in, he's like, let me go get it. Gets it, brings it back, and then starts to like understand. And then he has that little chat with Olivia Colman's character, which is so well done. And then to that end moment where it's built up and he's coming to the end of his time there, and he's like doing taste testing. He's like got such a good vibe with all the other staff. To that point in the car when he's driving home, singing to Taylor Swift. Such a good moment for that character.
This is the thing. This is the beauty of this as well. He went there in spite. He was asked to go there. He's scared about getting left behind, so he does it. But he's going to hate it and he's going to bitch about it. He's there out of spite.
Mm-hmm.
Then he naturally starts to have fun, but he still thinks he's been sent there as a punishment. So he takes that out on Kami. He goes back. He realizes he's legit enjoying it and not just making the best of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
Then he realizes he has to leave and he gets a little bit sad again. And then he realizes that Kami wasn't trying to punish him. Kami was trying to help him be better. And that was the moment, although the information had clicked in his head, the moment he clicked that Kami wasn't trying to punish him, he wanted to help him improve, was when you saw it like the gif of someone putting it all together.
Yeah.
It was literally that. He was like, I get it. And again, the callback in the final episode. The final episode is one of the greatest wrap-up episodes of a season you've ever seen, because it takes everyone's arcs and it puts them together.
Yeah.
With him going, we're doing a special, and he comes out with the banana, the chocolate banana, which was referenced in the flashback Christmas episode.
Yeah.
Is
it's the whole point of that, paying attention to the details of the customers and like pulling things. But yeah, that final episode, like you say, being the wrap up of the whole season 2, and the fact that it's like Kami's stuck in the fridge because he kept ignoring the one task he was meant to sort, and then it punishes him. Everything's going into chaos and everyone has to step up in their own way to make it work without needing him, was such a good arc for everybody. There's also Marcus's arc, his episode where he went to Denmark. Fucking Will Poulter's character, so good.
I knew Will Poulter was in the show like a year ago when it came out, but I'd forgotten about it. So when he arrived in Denmark and I saw Will Poulter, I was like, oh, I forgot he was in this. This is going to be great. I've heard he's really good in this. I assume it was like supposed to be obvious before the reveal that the person that made Will's character realize he wasn't that good was Kami.
Yeah.
I picked up on that straight away. I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be really obvious or not. But I was like, okay, cool. So that was Kami.
Yeah.
I'm loving every second of it. The beauty as well is the mirror between the Christmas episode and the final episode.
Yes.
They are setting up in season 3 the reveal that Kami has whatever mental health condition his mother has.
Well,
I think the idea is his mum is maybe bipolar or something.
I think the idea is his mum was an alcoholic.
That's not uncommon with people who are bipolar. It's really common.
Potentially.
So I'm waiting for that reveal that he suffers the same way his mother does. And that's why we get that thing of everything's going to shit, but they managed to save themselves. At Christmas, everything went to shit and they were too immature to know how to save themselves. We've seen them all improve as characters so they could save themselves, but Kami, like his mother, still has the breakdown, still ruins everything.
Well, it's also, I think, what I think's funny after, like, because you get towards the end of season 2, it's like, oh, he's turning it into like his own thing now, and they're like, everyone's getting better and it's cool. But you actually realize, and going into season 3, I think we're going to see this, he's essentially turning what was just the family sandwich shop, he's unknowingly turned it into the place he tried to escape, which was the Michelin star restaurant, and he can't help but turn a good thing into the chaotic thing that he is always trying to get away from.
Yeah.
And going to the Christmas episode, the fishes, 7 fishes or whatever, I said to you after you finished season 1, I was like, you thought the one-shotter was intense. That whole Christmas episode had me so like just anxious for like the family situation. I was like, this is too much. This is too intense. I don't like this.
It was like an hour and 30 minutes long. It was bordering on feature-length film. Again, it takes the same idea, although it does it in a much different way. Instead of just doing one shot, because that would have been fucking impossible. It's lots of long scenes, which still gives the same effect of the tension building all over the house. The actors that they got in for this, phenomenal. Bob Odenkirk coming in.
Oh,
Jamie
such
Lee
a good
Curtis,
episode.
Stephen Mulaney.
Mulaney.
Really, really good. All very funny. So good. I couldn't believe it.
The family dynamic that they were able to sell was so good.
Because it's a really believable family. Yes, it's like turn up to 11. But it's a very believable family dynamic of all these people who are loud and obnoxious and are horrible to each other, but they do love each other. They're going to do it all again next year, probably in the exact same way.
Yeah.
And then it just turns. It gets to dinner. Mikey's clearly been off doing drugs. And this is like that kind of nudge that people should have known about his problem. You get that scene of Cousin seeing him and clicking something's not right, but dismissing it. And he admits that in another episode. He's like, I kind of knew, but I didn't want to know. And then it builds. And then they manage to calm it down. And you're like, oh, they've managed to save it. And then it all fucking erupts again.
Yeah.
And then the car comes flying through the fucking wall.
Yes.
It's a masterpiece of storytelling. When I talk about, and like I've spoken about it a few times, and ironically they don't do it in this show, but I've said a number of times about how people get really weird about sex scenes in TV. And it's like this really weird thing where like we've never had like less sex on TV than we do now. Although people claim the opposite. That is just the truth. And people get really weird. Oh, it's like so unnecessary. And I'm like, sex scenes aren't unnecessary because in a show that's trying to talk about the human experience, that is part of the human experience.
Yeah.
This show is doing a masterfully good job of talking about the human experience.
Yeah.
There haven't been a lot of like relationships, so there hasn't been any natural need for a sex scene. I'm no doubt there will be at some point.
Can't fuck that up.
The interpersonal relationships between people and how no two relationships are the same in any way are phenomenal. Like, Carmi and Marcus don't actually talk that much, but a lot of their interactions is Marcus wants to improve. He looks at Carmi as a inspiration because he's seen what Carmi can achieve. So he'll give Carmi a bit of food. Carmi will eat it. He'll fucking melt like this, and he'll just give him a nod and keep walking. That is a very tight relationship.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's more with Io's character.
It's been too long. I've forgotten.
Yeah, the Sydney.
Yes, Sydney.
That's more of a chatty conversation. They bounce ideas off of each other.
Well, yeah,
you've got Cousin and Sydney. Their relationship has developed from this butting heads all the time. So they're thick as thieves now. Yeah, they're very different, but they're like, I need you to do this. I've got you.
You know, Neil, the maintenance guy in season 1, becomes front of house.
Yeah.
Matty Matheson. Do you know he's an actual chef?
No, you're joking.
He is the actual chef. He is.
Oh, that's so cool.
He is my favorite guy and one of my favorite chefs. He has a YouTube channel. He makes some incredible dishes, like the wildest. He has
Tax the goat.
His personality in the show is like a dialed down version of his actual personality.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, that's really cool.
He is that like crazy. Has his own clothing line, has his own like whatnot. He is like some of the suits and stuff he wore in that season 2 are actually from his own clothing line.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I thought them suits fitted him really well.
Yeah. He is, and I love the fact that in this show, he is just the maintenance guy and the janitor, has nothing to do with the kitchen. But I think also...
What I'm really curious to know is how they do the chopping scenes, because at first, a lot of the time it was just focused on the hands, and it's like, okay, cool, you can fake hands, that's not a problem. But in season 2, there's a lot more scenes where you can see, especially Carmi, actually chopping in a full body shot really fast. And I'm like, did Jeremy Allen White just learn to chop really fast, or are they using some cinema magic?
So Jeremy Allen White, I'm pretty sure, for season 1, went and worked in a kitchen for a bit, and I think between, I think he like to prep for season 2, he got back in the kitchen, and I think with Matty Matheson being there, who I think he's helped be producer as well on it.
It would make sense.
Them like putting in the effort, like Jeremy going to a kitchen. there's a reason this show is actually enjoyed by chefs, and they actually are happy with how they're portraying a kitchen. Yes, it's dramatized. Yes, some things like, put it this way, the one-shot one, if that was an actual kitchen, you would have turned off the machine instantly.
Yeah.
And like,
and in an actual kitchen, you don't call everyone chef. Like the chef's the chef. You're not going to call front of house chef.
No, but yeah, there's everyone in the kitchen will say chef.
I also noticed a really cool thing about that. I noticed a really cool thing about that, which actually makes it make sense from season 2. Coming back to Olivia Colman, my goat. You know how I feel about Olivia Colman. So she says she got a chance really late in life, and that's why she's so chill and so happy, and that's why she's doing grunt work.
Yes.
We know that both Luca and Kami studied under her.
Yes.
She's got an environment where she calls everyone chef out of respect because she's just happy to be there.
It's
so
just
they've
how
learned that,
yeah.
which is why Kami calls everyone chef. And that's why he says in like the first episode, I call everyone chef, it's a sign of respect. He's learned that from Terry, which is also why when Marcus turns up in Denmark, Denmark, Luca instantly calls him chef.
Yeah.
So it might seem like one of these things that's just accepted, even though that wouldn't be common to call everyone a chef unless they're actually a chef.
It's just how that kitchen's run.
All the characters doing it are under like a chef family tree where it does make sense. And I love that so much. This show is phenomenal. I cannot wait for season 3. I need Kami to sort his shit out though.
Yeah. How much did it hurt when you're like, no, you're fucking up when she's on the other side of the door and he's like, just blows his own world up because he's like too dedicated to the craft, thinks he can't do anything else.
He's like, no, I don't deserve love. It's like, bro, you're making food, good food, you still deserve love. Grow up.
Do you know what I did love about those final moments? The way they shot like the side on with the fridge door in the middle and you got Kami and then Cousin. And when Kami's like losing his shit at him because he's just frustrated and all Cousin is saying, I love you. Just like through the constant like berating he's getting, just showed like their relationship, how strong it had become. Honestly.
I adore this show so much. I only have one thing that I do not want them to fall into the trap of. I don't think they're going to do it, but it's the only thing right now they could do that would piss me off.
Okay.
I do not need a Sydney and Kami romance arc ever. Do you know how difficult and rare it is in a TV show for a male and female character to have a purely platonic, loving friendship? It is one of the rarest relationships you'll see on TV, and they have nailed it. Them two feel like best friends who genuinely love each other with no romantic undertones. Do not fuck with that. Let them be best friends who love each other because TV needs more of that.
So I think season 3 is going to see. She obviously was sort of, they were trying to sell it as like her character was obviously feeling that way towards him because he'd been spending so much time, and then suddenly Kami's got a girlfriend. It's like, oh, okay. I think Kami's going to realize he fucked up, try and get the girl back. That's going to be his thing. She's going to realize, wait, this isn't actually feelings for Kami. It's this like relationship of, oh, he sees me on the same level and a respect thing. And suddenly it's like we just want best for each other. We're both trying to do this and get what we want.
Yes.
Which is
her and Marcus I'm down for.
Yeah, I think there might be something there.
They'd be so cute.
That's the thing. He clearly like sort of likes her, but she's not realizing it.
I think she is realizing it because that was part of the issue in the last episode. Oh, sorry, going back to the last episode as well. The homage to
the donut,
the donut episode, where you've got it again. Like I said it to you, like, they pussied out of doing a longer one-shot episode, but like the first half of the episode is the exact same format. It is the one-shot building up the pressure. Everything starts off okay, and it gets worse and worse and worse until they're having a screaming argument. And then you get the first cut when tickets start coming through again, and they all twig, oh no, it's happening again. They all remember what happened last year, and they're all like, no, we're better now.
Yeah, and
Richie doesn't. Yeah, Richie and Sydney don't have a fight and start stabbing each other. They start working together quite literally. Yeah. Instead of Marcus grabbing his desserts and throwing them on the table and going, fuck everything, him and Sydney have a quick, sorry, let's just get back to work, talk about it later.
The whole like rubbing the chest thing, I love that.
It's the I'm gonna sound like such a stupid little fucking fanboy here, but I don't even care. The way this story is being written is phenomenal. The way the actors are being allowed to act, phenomenal. We've not even spoken about Tina's arc yet, and it's literally my favorite arc.
Yeah. Oh, like
Tina is this older woman who's worked in this shitty little sandwich shop and given up on life at the start.
Yep.
Kami says we're going to start calling people chef because of her accent
Jeff.
and being a little bit fuck the establishment. She goes, okay, Jeff, as a joke.
Yeah.
She refuses to drop that apart from one person, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
She then has this up and comer in Sydney come in who wants to change everything.
Yeah.
And she hates that. She's like, oh, this bitch thinks she's better than me. She gives her the most shit out of anyone. She legit wants to see Sydney fail. And then you have her bring this dish over to Sydney. Sydney tastes it and she's like, that's fucking perfect. And Tina, you literally, the actress sold it so well. She's so tense. She's ready for the argument. And then she's like, oh, you're happy with it? And she's like, yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much. She goes back over and she's like, you're welcome, chef. And at that moment, Tina realizes, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Tina's like, oh, she doesn't hate me. She doesn't think she's better than me. She just wants to help me improve. She wants to get the best out of me. And then instantly, they form this mother-daughter-like bond where they're thick as thieves. They're working together. They're on fire. Tina gets to go to chef school.
Yeah.
You can see how much she loves that, how much she's learning. She gets to use Kami's knife and then she gets to keep it. And she's like, let's fucking cook. Tina's arc is so beautiful because that arc is purely about don't write yourself off. Because that's what she was doing. She was going, this girl's younger than me. She doesn't think I can do it, so I don't think I can do it. But the second that Sydney showed a bit of faith in her, she was like, oh, I'm going to do this.
That whole thing as well, like, being there for so long, and it's just like, why are you coming in and you're younger, you're coming in and you're changing everything. Things were fine. You're not better to change it. And then, like you say, a bit of like reassurance from Sydney that she's doing well. That realization of, wait, I am actually learning things and can do this, even though I was doubting myself. Then it's that arc of she goes to the chef school and she gets to learn this whole new thing and goes on this like growth thing. Meanwhile, the older guy, which I can't remember his name, Ibra, is like the flip of, he was sort of enjoying this new change up, and then it's like, oh wait, this is serious. You're sending us to chef school. Like, nah, this is too much. You're pushing me too much. So then he like walks away from it to then realize I was wrong. And he comes back and asks, can I have a chance back? Can I I realized I was wrong to walk away from this.
Because that story wasn't, oh, go with the flow. That story was actually, if you don't want to do something, you don't have to do it. He didn't want to change. Yeah. And he came back and found the opportunity to work the drive-through, which is essentially just a little beef drive-through. So he gets to do what he was doing before, but it's his now. He feels ownership over it. It's like, if you're not willing to change to learn and do something new, think about how you can do what you're currently doing bigger and better. This story is just full of good messages.
Oh yeah, there's so many character development, like so much for everybody. It's so well put together.
If you manage to watch this show and not on some level relate to at least one character, you might have no personality. Straight up.
I am so ready from the teaser we've seen. I don't know if you've got and watched that now.
I have gone back and watched the teaser now that I finished the show.
Season 3 is clearly going to be, they say in the teaser, they're going to chase getting the star. They're going to grow, and then it's all going to go wrong again. I can see it now.
It's all bad habits.
It's all going to come collapsing down around them. And that's probably where it's going to end the season, is they get their star in the chaos, but it feels like everything's crumbled. And then they're going to get the thing at the end. It's like, oh yeah, here's your star. And they're just like, yeah, but this is all fucking falling apart now.
They're going to fall back into bad habits. You're going to go back from a restaurant that was loud, a kitchen that was loud, but they were communicating efficiently. They weren't swearing at each other and being obnoxious. That is going to be good for a few episodes. They're going to start chasing it and they're just going to deteriorate. And we are going to once again get another mirror episode, like we did from the first season to the second season, that is going to be repeated near the end of the third season, where they almost save it and then it goes wrong again and they can't save it. We're going to get probably a really long shot where the tension builds. Then we're going to get a replication of the no, we can save this. And then it's going to go wrong again and they can't recover it.
Yeah.
And it's literally, they're going to fall back into really bad habits. The visual storytelling in this show is some of the best I've seen in a TV show. And the beauty is, it's not so subtle that by noticing it, you feel like you're watching it too intensely. But it's also not so obvious that it's being spoon-fed to you. They've hit that really difficult to hit balance where everyone who's paying attention will go, oh, wait, that's a parallel. That's a nice little coming together moment. And the people who aren't paying attention will just miss it. So good. It's one of them shows that I cannot recommend enough.
I kind of
so good.
I see season 3 is going to be the chase for the star, and I don't think they get it, and I think it goes wrong. And I don't know how long this show is going to go on for, but if it was my prediction,
6 seasons in a movie,
you're going to see season 4. Maybe they do get the star, and I think it's going to the story's going to build to a point where they get this Michelin star restaurant, and then they realize this is Carmen's going to realize this is everything I tried to get away from. Why have I chased this again? And something tells me they go back to being like the most well-run beef sandwich shop.
Yeah.
Like it all just goes simpler again because they realize.
I completely agree. I think season 3 is them trying and failing for the star. Early in season 4, they fix it and get the star. And then by the end of season 4, they realize the stress of keeping a star is too much. What they want to do is be organized and efficient with like a really fun menu, but original beef style.
Yeah.
And it'll be like the beefy bear or some shit.
The beefy bear.
Yeah. TM. I've trademarked it.
Disney
can't
I'm
have it
so
now.
excited for season 3.
So good. I could ramble on about this show for 12 million years. People have seen me get passionate before. They've probably just watched and gone, Connor has some strong feelings about that show. And as always, Olivia Colman is my goat. I love her so much. Anyway.
One last thing. I'm pretty sure this was around the same time Secret Invasion had just finished, is when this came out.
Probably, yeah.
So I'd gone from watching Olivia Colman being this like ruthless spy to
just the friendliest chef ever.
Friendliest chef in the world. It was so jarring, but so great at the same time.
Right. The Boys, talking of jarring, season 4.
Yeah, another show coming this month.
Yeah, I'll be honest, about a month ago, I was like, I'm not really looking forward to The Boys that much. But it turns out they actually timed this series perfectly because the itch is starting to come back for some like boys style content after Gen V.
Yeah.
So they've whether on purpose or accidentally, I don't know if they did market research about my particular feelings, but this is coming at the right time for me.
Well, did you answer a survey anytime recently?
Probably not, no. So we've got a first little teaser on Twitter that had some, I was about to say in-game footage, had some show footage, which was Butcher trying to get Ryan to come with him. Also, yes. Ryan's grown up.
Well, yeah.
Working with young actors must be so annoying, mustn't it? It's like, no, the next season, which we're going to start filming in a year, is a direct continuation. All of the other actors look the same, and the child is just 6 foot taller with a full beard.
The funny thing is, it's like with Ryan's character, they can kind of like bullshit a bit, but like, well, he's got superhero DNA in him. Like,
and don't get me wrong, there might be like a little time skip after like the first episode that allows them to hide a little bit of it.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember how long he had at the end of season 3. Didn't he realize then he only had like 6 months, Butcher?
No, he just knew he was really unwell. I don't think we had a time limit on it yet. I think he just knew he was on borrowed time.
Yeah, maybe.
And plus, like, a trial doesn't happen that fast. We know the trial of Homeland is like a central theme.
True.
So, like, they can hide a little. They can go, well, he's a teenage boy. Yeah. It's been a 6 month time. But it's just so funny, especially because he's gone through that stage of growing up where he's got rid of like a little bit of the chubby cheeks. He looks leaner, makes it even more noticeable. But it's kind of weird for us to talk about teenage boys.
Do you know what they've done? Obviously, we know they're going to do mirrors to the current political climate in the US and a certain political figure. But his
Homelander is just like Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's totally who I meant. Ryan gives me big certain ex-president son vibes who just stands there.
Baron.
Yeah, gives me big Baron vibes, and they're clearly doing that on purpose. But even more so in this clip.
Because at the end of season 3, with what we saw happen, we saw a little smirk from Ryan, and we're like, oh shit, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But we also then kind of, in this clip, it seems like Ryan's still conflicted, which shows that there might be some saving him. He's kind of a little bit like, but my dad said he was a pedophile. And Butch was like, he's lying to you, pal. And you can see Ryan's kind of like, he might be. That kind of, that you can see that he's not fully like, he's not consumed with the power. So he might still be savable.
Yeah,
Homelander...
on that edge. He's on that edge, and I think also Butcher mentioning his mum and stuff kind of like pulls him back to being like, maybe Butcher does have some truth to him, because at least my mum trusted him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The way Homelander walks in, Anthony Starr is such a good actor, first and foremost.
He is great.
But the way he like x-rays his brain, he's like, oh, that's a big black mass. How long you got, Butch? 6 months?
Yeah.
Phenomenal. It's just such good villain acting. Because here's the thing, Homelander genuinely thinks he's the good guy. And playing a villain who genuinely thinks they're the good guy, not they think they're right, genuinely thinks they're the good guy, is actually really difficult.
Do you know what I also loved it when he like walks in? The Neverland Ranch little drop. I thought that was such a great little like real world touch.
Yeah.
It's
it's going to be outrageous. It's going to be gory. They're going to try and go for another, oh my god, that's crazy moment, like the exploding dick.
Yeah. Do you know what's going to be wild?
I think the story looks solid.
Do you know what's going to be wild? If they mirror the recent trial that happened and Homelander is found guilty, but it doesn't stop him, and then everyone still supports him, and they somehow nailed mirroring it.
So the showrunner has been talking a fair bit. He's like, we've been building up to Homelander versus Butcher. We have to deliver on it at some point, but we've still got a few more seasons. But I know how I'm going to finish the story. Some people are suggesting it'd be really cool to have Butcher kill off Homelander in this season, and then have Butcher descend a little bit and become a bit of the villain instead.
Well, we did say like he's kind of gone a little too far the other way now, because he's like using V to kill. It's like you've gone a bit too deep in the source, mate.
Yeah, the whole concept of this is power corrupts, which is why heroes end up being a bit morally grey, and also do the means justify the ends?
Yes.
Butcher's against the concept of superheroes. He thinks they're essentially immoral, especially once he found out Compound V existed. They've killed so many people, they get away with it. It's all wrong. But to right that wrong, you're now using Compound V to get temporary powers to deal with it. Are you now just as bad as them? That is, forgetting all of the outrageous meta references and all of that, that is at its core what this story's about. Power corrupts, and do the means justify the end. Him flipping and becoming this villain who now thinks he's like a judge, jury, and executioner over everyone once he deals with Homelander would be a really cool pivot. Bearing in mind how little of the boys' story from the comics they follow, because it's overall not a good story and they've kind of just adapted it to make it better.
Yeah.
That could be a very interesting decision. It's like, oh, we finally dealt with Homelander, but Butcher now thinks that he's got the right to decide who lives and who dies. He might actually be worse than Homelander because he managed to beat Homelander.
Yeah. And he's never acted within the law either. I wonder if it could go that way, and then Ryan calls him out on it, and actually that flips Ryan back to being on the good side.
Yeah. Like, imagine this kind of moment where Ryan has been convinced by Butcher that Homelander's the bad guy, but then Butcher goes too far, kills Homelander, and Ryan's like, he was a bad guy, but you're not any better.
Yeah.
Like, there's a story in there somewhere. A better writer than me can unearth that gem and make it work for sure.
I'm also looking forward to seeing potentially some of Gen V weaved into this as well.
Yes, I'm very curious because we know the characters are in there and we know
they're
it
in the
leads
basement.
on.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to know how directly these stories tie in. Is Sam the new Black Noir, or is Black Noir someone else altogether? Because that's going to be interesting. I hope that's a bit of a mystery. I hope we don't get
I think
that.
they will keep that a mystery.
And while I'm very positive about the boys and I don't want the show to end too soon, I think season 6 is the most they can get away with. I think past season 6, you're really pushing it.
Yeah, especially considering you got this whole overlying thing of like Billy has 6 months to live. Like, there's only going to be so far you can take the story without going in a completely new set of characters and new direction.
And also, whenever you start to like get rid of main characters and rework them slightly, you can only do that so much. Yeah, you can only do so much of that before people are like, "Oh, you're just desperate for this show not to end now, and it's making it worse." And they need to avoid that. I think 6 seasons is the sweet spot. Bearing in mind that would also give them 3 seasons of Gen V,
which they could end with Gen V getting shut down.
Yeah, and 2 seasons potentially of the Mexican spin-off.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Which we don't.
And
really
I think that'd be
about.
a sweet spot.
Yeah,
because the boys at the beginning got a lot of popularity because it was making meta jokes essentially at the expense of like Marvel and DC. If you're doing 6 seasons of a TV show, as well as 2 spin-offs that are getting multiple seasons, eventually you start to become the thing you mock.
Yeah. Depends how much real world stuff we give them to work with.
And we are also at a point as well where we have a lot of these kind of satirical meta superhero projects going on, which also hurts their staying power because they're not unique anymore. They're one of a few.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So I think if this season ends with Homelander dying at the hands of Butcher, and then we get 2 seasons of them trying to deal with Butcher, I think that's probably the sweet spot.
Yeah, I think
I don't. If we get to the point where it's like season 7 and 8, I'm going to start getting nervous about the quality.
Yeah, I think they need to be not, like you say, not drag this on too far because that will end up being the death of the show.
It's one of them ones like when you go back and rewatch like How I Met Your Mother or Friends or stuff, or Scrubs, any American show in reality. Take 2 seasons off, however many seasons there are, and you'll go, yeah, that's where they should have ended it. Every single time without fail.
And this is the thing, it's like you use How I Met Your Mother and Friends, which are like rare examples that it kind of got away with as long as it needed to be. Like they managed to wrap the story up well enough, and it's like you can't get away with that every time. Like they're rare.
That is, and also How I Met Your Mother and Friends get away with that more because of just how phenomenal the first early season. People would put up with more shit because of how great it was earlier on.
Yeah.
You can't always, like you said, you can't bank on that. Get out early, and you would rather have Twitter and Instagram for the rest of the time going, I'd give anything for one more season of The Boys, rather than going, we didn't need season 7 and 8 of The Boys. They should have finished at 6.
Yeah. I mean, look at, Game of Thrones, issue wasn't that it ran too long. The issue was they rushed out the last season before the book was done, and that cost them. So these shows that that show died by its last season, so you don't want to be having the same issue.
It's the exact same reason I'm not worried about Invincible, because they're following the comics. There's only a finite amount of comics, and they're following it faithfully enough. It's not like The Boys where they're taking concepts and reworking them to be good. They're taking Invincible and they're telling that story. Once they run out of comics, they will stop because they're like, we're not going to come up with new stories because that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for The Boys. I know you are as well. It's a 3-episode drop next Thursday. So I think our plan is to both watch the first episode for next week maybe the first 2 episodes if I can find time.
I'll
And
probably
we'll
have
discuss
watched
them
all
next
3,
week.
know me.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll probably watch the first 2, maybe not the third, so I don't get confused.
Yeah. And then we will... My plan is to do episodes 1 and 2 next week, and then 3 and 4 the week after that, and then we'll be caught up for the weekly releases for the rest of the season. Because watching 3 hours of TV on a Thursday when I'm at work before recording the podcast, there's not enough hours.
Just don't work.
Yeah, the math ain't mathing. I'm just booking next Thursday off for the boys.
For the boys.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm so excited, and we are so back.
We are.
We've still got movies to come this summer. It's great.
Wild.
On to some Nerd News Network.
Yeah, a bit of a interesting week of news.
I'm going to try and stay as calm as possible for this first bit of news, but I am
okay.
I am vibrating with excitement. Watch Dogs movie.
Nearly made a joke there. Would have been so bad.
The Watch Dogs. There is a Watch Dogs movie happening. I make no secret of the fact that Watch Dogs, the first one, is one of my favorite games of all time. I fucking adore that game. To the point where I'm always scared to ever replay it in case it dents it at all for me. That game is a very special part of my heart for a number of reasons, and as a result, I love the franchise, even if it's not always that good.
Yeah.
The concept of a movie, there are so many cool stories to be told there, and if they can do a good job, it will be phenomenal. If that movie is good, I said on Twitter, I will become a whole new level of unbearable.
It needs to be good because
I need it to be good. I can't stomach a bad one.
Unfortunately, the Watch Dogs world could be it's that sort of setting that is either you write a great story and you nail it, or it comes across as a very cheesy universe and a very cheesy attempt at this cyber hacker story, and they need to be careful because it could very easily be really bad.
That's why I love Watch Dogs 1 so much more than Watch Dogs 2 and Legion. Because Watch Dogs 1 is your Aiden Pierce, you are a retired hacker who's trying to get revenge. And then over the course of the story, you find out you're trying to get revenge because you were hacking for money and it got your niece killed. And you can never forgive yourself. And you're trying to get revenge for that. That is a story ready for the cinema.
Yeah.
Then in Watch Dogs 2, you're in San Francisco, you're playing 9 million different characters.
Yeah.
And it's just fuck the establishment.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love fuck the establishment as much as the next guy. In fact, I'm willing to put out there, the only person who loves fuck the establishment in the entire world more than me is Brendan Lee Mulligan. And I would give anything to be on that level. Maybe if Horry ever drops me and him will start a podcast just called Fuck the Establishment. But it's just such a tonal shift that it was quite, for me who loved the first Watch Dogs, although I still enjoyed Watch Dogs 2 for the quality of the gameplay, the tonal shift was crazy, and I hope this film tells a story more like the original Watch Dogs game than the others, because I just think it's a more compelling story.
Yeah.
Also, don't fuck up hacking dialogue and the way it looks visually, because anyone who spent a lot of time with computers,
you're gonna get ripped. That's what. Yeah,
it would be so don't get me wrong. Obviously, Watch Dogs makes it crazy easy, but the idea is they've already done all the hard work anyway. You're just pressing the button at the end. Avoid the 80s hacker trope of I'm in the mainframe. just please get someone who
just there
knows
with the
what
green
they're talking
text.
about.
Yeah. Right.
Get someone who is a specialist in cybersecurity, pirate software, to come in and just do a sense check of your script and just go, that makes no sense, even to a layman. Don't say that.
Yeah. That I think that's what will sell or kill that world.
Absolutely.
That story.
That's why video game. We should be positive. We have seen more video game lands than misses in the last year, 2 years, 3 years. So maybe we should be more positive than negative.
True. Hopefully they are paying attention to what's worked and they are listening to that.
Because there is a very cool story to be told here. And like I said, if it's good, I'm never going to let anyone hear it down. So stop preying on its downfall, peep. Fallout Season 2 is coming
Yes.
as fast as possible, according to the showrunner, but it is still in early development, according to the Hollywood Reporter. It takes as long as it takes.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they would have presumed it was going to get greenlit, and they might have started like the rough story ideas of what would be next, but it only got greenlit after the first season came out.
And for better or worse, Bethesda do also have to greenlight whatever story they want to tell. So the writers might have had a story they love, but if Bethesda's like, no, we're doing a story similar to that, you have to do something different, that's going to be a problem.
Why is there a part of me that wants these people that have no understanding of Bethesda and have watched Fallout 1 and loved it, like, oh my god, this is cool, we should get a season 2 of this, I want them to learn more. Why do I want them to feel the pain as us gamers have felt having to wait for the next installment from Bethesda? Make them wait 6 years for Elder Scrolls 6. Like,
make them wait 6 years and then release something the quality of Fallout 76, yeah?
Yeah, let them wait 6 years and then they just re-release Fallout Season 1, but on like VR.
Did you see that meme, about Watch Dogs? Not Watch Dogs, The Last of Us.
Oh, yeah. The fact that
it was put in Discord,
remastered.
Wasn't it? Let me find it. I put it in there, I think. Said, did you see the joke? I'm pretty sure I sent it to people.
I think I did read it.
Yeah, I'm going to read it out for the people. Yeah, there are a lot of people asking how there could be a season 3 and 4 for the TV show of The Last of Us when The Last of Us 3 video game isn't even out yet. The good news is season 3 will likely be released after The Last of Us 3 because we'll get season 1 remaster, season 1 remake, season 2 remaster, and season 2 remake first. Which, for anyone who's a fan of the games, will understand that The Last of Us has been... There's more remakes and remodels than originals at this point. It's crazy. I think they should do that Fallout 2. It'd be really funny. Now, this is more of a discussion point than bit of nerdy news, but I didn't know really where else to put it. So some BTS footage from Bad Boys Ride or Die has come out.
Yes.
That shows off one of the action scenes where Will Smith is operating the camera with the handle for the camera mounted onto the bottom of his gun.
Yes.
So that you can show like a really insane up close to that, and then he can also turn the camera to show what he's aiming at. Very, very cool. Someone tweeted and they said, with this kind of source from the directors in like how to make a film and like the concept of that, they refuse to believe that Batgirl was so bad it was unreleasable because it's the same director, the same directing partnership.
Yeah, the cinematography we've seen from Bad Boys and like these camera rigs that they've done to really sell action, and like the final shot of it is so impressive. It looks so cool. Like, yeah, it does question. There's no way they weren't using this stuff in Batgirl, building rigs to get cool shots and whatnot and being creative that way. It's like, I'm also on the same page of like, there's no way it was so bad that it was unreleasable.
And additionally to that, this directing partnership are one of the directing groups that have been linked with potentially taking over the second Spider-Man trilogy of the MCU. After this BTS footage, there have been a lot of people going, hand them the keys. Because here's the thing, Spider-Man is the kind of character where, like, thinking about filmmaking in this way and wanting to do stuff like that really lends itself to a Spider-Man kind of character. It doesn't obviously need to be like a one-to-one replica where you got like a super up close. But if this is the way they think about making a film, they will have some really cool ideas of what to do with a character like Spider-Man. And I also completely agree. There is no way with some of the dross that has been released into cinemas that Batgirl was so bad it was unreleasable when these guys clearly have such an artistic vision.
I still believe Batgirl was a tax dodge.
Absolutely. It's disgusting that's even allowed. If you vote for me in the general election, I'll make it legal.
Careful, you might get a milkshake in your face.
I wouldn't arrest someone for throwing a milkshake, especially if I deserved it because I'm a cunt.
Not to get political or anything on this podcast.
The next Avengers movie may be Marvel's largest ever production with a reportedly and truly insane 60 plus characters.
Damn.
So apparently the idea is less to do what they did in Endgame and Infinity War, where you have like little teams,
and
do more of a traditional ensemble.
Right.
I'm still not confident that works with 60 characters. But here's the thing. Marvel were getting a lot of shit anyway. I'm kind of willing to risk the film not being as good as it could be, just in case they pull it off.
True. Wait, which one's the next Avengers one? Was it Kang Dynasty?
Yes.
Okay. In before the 60 plus characters are just Kang variants.
Imagine like the assistant in the PR department's been told, you need to leak that there's going to be loads of characters in the film because of all the Kang variants we're doing. And they're like, how much fun am I allowed to have? And they're like, as long as you don't make it 100% certain there's just a bunch of variants, have as much fun as you want. And they're like, okay, bet.
But I mean, yeah, if they, like, I'm with you. If they can pull off having like 60 plus characters, even if it's just, I'm down with it being like Endgame level, like fight moment with all them characters, but rather than it just showing us pockets, like it does like a fucking hop from character to character, like it all in the same fucking huge fight or something, like pulling something like that off. So you mean
like one of the best things they did in an Avengers film, in Avengers Age of Ultron, where it did a very smooth transition from character to character? Yeah, give me that fight scene, but with 60 characters. And I will sit here and I will not shut up about it for 3 episodes straight. Here's the thing, we've got to put our money where our mouth is here. We've said for months on end now, we want Marvel to try outrageous, crazy, dangerous things and see what pays off. This is one of them things. Do I think they can pull it off? No, I think it's very, very difficult to pull off. And I think it's practically impossible to tell a good story while pulling off the ensemble of that size. Do I want them to try it just in case they can? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Here's the thing. If they try it in the next Avengers movie and succeed, it means Secret War is going to be even better.
Yes. Absolutely.
Which is when they need to be able to do it.
Yes. Absolutely.
So
yeah, interesting. Worth keeping an eye on. Hope Van Dyne, aka Wasp actress, Evangeline Lilly, is stepping away from acting. She heard she had to share the screen with 59 other characters and went, fuck that shit, I'm out. That is not a quote, that's a meme.
No.
Fucking hell, before I get sued.
For slander.
Yeah. She said that she just needs to take a break. She doesn't know if she will ever return to Hollywood. She's not said she's definitely gone forever, but she said she's not sure she wants to come back. Does it suck a little bit? Wasp was a fun character. I think she's a good actress. However, she's also a little bit of a bigot, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, maybe a bigot's the wrong word. She's maybe not the most socially conscious person we've seen. She was a little bit anti-vax during COVID and stuff.
Do we feel this is partly come from how poorly Ant-Man was received?
Ant-Man Quantumania?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because if that's the case, and then Marvel's gone, okay, we're not touching anything Ant-Man for a while, even though your characters are alive. Sorry, you're getting shelved because we don't want to risk that mess again. So she's like, well, I'm not contracted for any more Marvel films at the moment. Bye.
I've got a feeling that we are getting a soft reboot that I'm peddling. That's my agenda at the minute. We're getting a soft reboot. I've got a feeling they're like, we would only use you again for the Avengers films. So here's the contract. That she'll have an idea of kind of the scale we're looking at here. She'll know there's a reboot coming potentially because it's just a 2-film deal. And she's gone, no, I'm out. And they've gone, well, we're not going to offer you any more money for it because we're trying to get all these characters in. People literally won't notice you're not there, which is fair. Other than like 3 characters, if a certain character's missing, most people won't notice. So yeah, I mean, it sucks. She's a big part of the MCU, but she's got to do what she's got to do.
Not on here, but also keeping with Marvel actors. Did you see that Robert Downey Jr. has said he's even more willing to return as Iron Man because he actually misses playing that role?
Yeah. He what was it? The direct quote was something like, "It's so in my DNA, and I'm starting to realize how much I miss it." What I've noticed a lot, and I'm not like this might come across as me trying to slander the actors here. I'm not. I have no issue with any of them doing this. when a lot of the big guys who are part of the MCU got away from it, they were all quite happy.
Mm.
And a lot of people took that as, see, the MCU was hell, the actors hated it. And now a lot of them are like being quite defensive of the MCU. And I think what people are forgetting is it's not like a normal 9 to 5. Yeah, they get paid very well. I'm not saying they're hard done by, but it's so intense for so long
Yeah.
that it will start to wear on you. So when you leave, you will be happy. You'll be like, yes, that's over. I get to go and do fun, weird, goofy projects that I haven't been able to do for ages. And like for Robert Downey Jr., he went from no one to everyone while he was in the MCU because Hollywood was done with him before Stan Lee was like, no, I like this kid, give him a chance. So he all of a sudden got the chance to do stuff he might never have got the chance to do before. But now they're going, okay, yeah, I've stepped away from it and I'm looking back at it. And actually, yeah, it was rough. Yeah, it was long hours. Yeah, it was really intense. And it made me so famous that it made me go from like, oh, that's Robert Downey Jr. over there to, oh my God, that's fucking Tony Stark. That's Iron Man.
Yeah.
Grab 3 generations of my family because we all want to meet him. Like, it's a whole level of fame that like only Robert Downey Jr. has ascended to that level of fame that people like the tier below Beatles or Michael Jackson experience. No one is ever mentally prepared for that.
All playing one character as well.
Exactly. So I'm not surprised that now that he's had a few years away, he's like, it was fun. We know they had fun doing it. They got on so well, that original OG cast. They all loved their characters. They got to see children's faces literally beam and light the world up because of what they were doing while getting paid millions of dollars. How could you not love it?
Yeah, true.
I'm not surprised that these stories, and they're all coming out around the same time now that a lot of the big guys are going on, and now they've been separated long enough, they look back and they go, was it rough? Yeah, but you know what? Fucking loved every second of it.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised at all. I would love to see RDJ suit up as Iron Man one more time in my life. Just once more.
Yeah.
Secret War. I think it'd be beautiful.
I think that's the only way they can faithfully do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless they want to wait like 30 years, at which point you'd be like 90.
Do an old man Iron Man or something.
Yeah. Jeff Snyder, aka the Inschneider. He was a reporter for a number of years. He's now branched out on his own. Very, very good reporter. Has reported that Jordan Peele is discussing an undisclosed upcoming project for Marvel.
Interesting.
This wheels back to us going, we want them to take more risks.
Yeah.
This is it. This is what we want to see. Jordan Peele's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
The man that made his name as part of Key & Peele, one of the best comedy skitters in the world. And then he was like, I'm going to start directing. And everyone was like, oh, you're going to do comedy films? He's like, no, I'm going to do fucking horror films. And he's made some of the most critically acclaimed horror films in the last 10 years. Whatever he wants to do, Marvel let him. As long as as long as his plan isn't something that royally fucks your large overarching plan, let him.
Yeah. I mean, he's been doing horror films. Maybe we can actually get a horror Marvel film like we talked about.
If he wants to come on and like do Midnight Suns and do like a really intense story there, let him. Jordan Peele is like a fantastic director. That's not even up for debate. He just is. If Marvel are now at a point where they're starting to attract this caliber of director, give him the keys. Give him the fucking keys. You're going to get more shit if he's discussing, say, Midnight Suns, just because it's the only project that we know is happening that would automatically be assumed would be a Jordan Peele kind of film. If it comes out that he's gone in for that and you don't give it to him and you give it to someone who does a terrible job, people are going to be like, you wanted to do a horror film, Jordan Peele was interested and you didn't let him do it. Idiots.
Yeah.
Whereas if Jordan Peele comes in and does it and it's not bad, people go, oh, Jordan Peele really missed this time. You Marvel themselves will take less flack if Jordan Peele comes in and the film ends up not being good. But I'm also very confident that if Jordan Peele comes in and does the film, it will be good.
It's solid, yeah.
Yeah. Let good directors direct.
Speaking of things that are going to flop.
Oh, don't tell me you're being a negative Nelly.
Venom trailer didn't. I mean.
So I do have a couple of issues.
Okay.
But I'm going to start with the big positive.
Okay.
one of the things I've said for about a year straight
Mm.
is I need comic book films to be more outrageous, more campy, more cartoony.
Yeah.
This film's got that.
Yeah.
Venom Horse was fucking lit. No one can
True.
convince me
I
otherwise.
will say
Yeah?
Venom Horse was very funny.
Like
I enjoyed that.
the DNA of the way they're trying to do the film looks good and what I want. I am concerned about the story. It looks like they've taken the bar that was in the MCU, where a little bit of Venom was left behind, and now that's in the main Sony universe.
Unless they're tricking us and they're showing us 2 universes.
Which is just weird, and it's going to get confusing, and I don't like it. And honestly, at this point, Marvel might have a case to sue Sony for like trying to destroy their business.
So I have a theory on the bar thing. It does, like you say, it seems like they are now using that, which then everyone's like, okay, so they're retconning their involvement in Far From Home. I wonder if they pitched, look, we want you to use, or they were like, they did that little collaboration thing. They obviously then were like, probably saying it has to be Tom Hardy as Venom. Or like they were pushing something too hard that Marvel just went, yeah, no, we'll do it our own way, thanks.
Yeah.
To which then Sony's gone, well, fine then, we're taking back our, like, we're retconning that scene then. And spat their dummy out, essentially, because they didn't get their, they pushed too hard on Marvel to get involved and bring their shitty universe into it.
Yeah.
And Marvel was like, no. So then they've spat their dummy out and they're retconning it.
As we said last week, we've got the rumor that they're introducing a 10-year-old Peter Parker. People think they've spotted him and Aunt May in the trailer.
Oh, okay.
Because there is there's a
10-year-old boy there,
lady and a 10-year-old boy with brown hair.
Ah.
So like with that rumor, it's not crazy to go, oh, maybe that's Peter Parker. Like it's a bit of a reach, but it's not like stupid reach. And that's my issue. Sony have no direction overall. I think this film's going to be fun. I think this film's going to be panned unfairly. It might be a good film, but however good it is, it's going to be treated like a film that's half as good.
Yeah. I think people will come out and say, like, Tom Hardy was great as Venom as always. He does that character justice and had fun with it, but the story just felt all over or something like that.
Absolutely. If they just give me a very easy to follow story that does make sense and an hour and a half of Venom Horse type shenanigans, I'll be like, you know what? It's a decent comic book project.
Yeah.
If they make the story too complicated or they baited us with Venom Horse and that's the only thing like that, I'll be upset. Because that is exactly what comic book movie projects should be like. And it's like I'm not switching up now because I don't want to like blast Tom Hardy. But I've been saying for about a year that I need more camp, outrageous comic book moments. Venom Horse is lit.
What if, like Madam Web, which I didn't see, they've teased us with Venom Horse, and it's going to be like the suits in Madam Web, where they're literally on scene for like
just one scene,
yeah.
As long as we don't get any more of that fucking horrific RDA, we'll be fine. So yeah, that is our Nerd News Network for the week. Not too much, but some interesting stuff to ponder.
No, but quite the episode because of Bear and Boys and Acolyte.
Speaking of which, we'll be back with all of them next week. No, not all of them, not the Bear.
Not the Bear, but the Bear later in the month.
Yes.
So eventually there will be all of these regularly going on. So it's going to be a busy month.
What time to be alive? Also, shout out to the Doctor Who fans out there. This season rocks. Shooter Cattle's the GOAT. Catch you next week.
See you next week.